Hey, welcome to our Monday afternoon live broadcast. Thank you so much if you are catching us live. I also appreciate all of you who jump on to our rebroadcast on YouTube and Facebook and leave us comments there as well. So either way, we appreciate you being here. Today, we are going to be talking about insulin resistance and why it is we really need to start paying attention and really understanding what insulin resistance is and why that is really the starting point for a lot of the things that we're suffering from as we're going through the aging process. So my name is Diana. If you're catching us for the first time, welcome. This is an amazing community of aging women who are practicing intermittent fasting and a keto-like lifestyle to really start to understand the basic chemistry changes that are going on in our body and how food and nutrition does affect us as we age. I have been working in the health and fitness industry for the past 25 years, helping women find nutrition plans and fitness programs to help them look and feel their best and live their most authentic life. And we are doing that here in this community by building the community, sharing our stories, and practicing some new ways of managing our body, our health, and what we're doing in our nutrition. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and I'm going to really go back to basics before I start talking about insulin resistance, and then hopefully shed some light on where this problem of sugar has really generated from and what it's doing to us today. So sugar is one of the most popular ingredients around in foods today. All you need to do is read ingredients labels and you will know what I'm talking about. It has been broken down chemically into different forms. It has been renamed into different things. And it is the single most used item in pre-packaged and processed foods today, which is why so many of us are having all of these sugar and or carbohydrate then leading to insulin problems that we have today. So sugar is really the root cause of a lot of the things that we're dealing with as we start to age. Sugar has been demonstrated to have a euphoric effect and produce behaviors and biological responses similar to what you would find in drug addiction. So no wonder we're having problems really kicking the sugar habit, and why it is we have so many emotional and mental and even societal chains to food and sugar. It is something that we can be, and for most of us are very addicted to. It's what leads to cravings. What leads to mood swings. What often leads to just that need, desire, and that urge to consume food. And if you're consuming food that's in the processed type of arena, then you are probably getting the double dose of what sugar has, just because it is so readily available and so prominent in a lot of the foods that make life easy for us. So we know that about sugar. So let's talk a little bit about insulin and what that is and what happens to our body when we have this situation where insulin is not working the way it was supposed to be working for us. Insulin is a hormone that is produced and secreted by the pancreas following the consumption of carbohydrates. So we know sugar is a carbohydrate, and there are different levels of carbohydrates. There's different levels of glycemic index. I'm not going to go into that today. I want to just stick with the basics and give you a very simplified understanding of what's going on with our body and what insulin resistance is really doing to us. So we know that it all stems from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, and then this glucose is released into our bloodstream. To restore the new elevated blood glucose, which is the situation that happens when we are consuming carbohydrates, what we need to have happen to restore this new elevated blood glucose is our pancreas secretes insulin into our system. Insulin then moves glucose from the bloodstream inside our cells. So it's a cause and effect type of situation that's happening. And our insulin is then, like I just said, moved from glucose from the bloodstream. It gets moved into our cells. what happens when we have this insulin resistance type of situation is our cells become so inundated with glucose that we start to get an overproduction of insulin. And that's basically what insulin resistance ends up being. So insulin also suppresses our fat burning opportunity for our body. So a lot of times when we're insulin resistant, which is what happened to me when I was insulin resistant, is my body immediately started storing fat. We know that we have to burn off stored glycogen levels in our body before we ever get to that fat burning state. So you have this overproduction or this insulin resistance scenario going on in your body, and your body never really has the opportunity to flush through the glycogen that it needs to flush through to get to that point of burning fat. So your body actually starts to store and hold on to fat, which is a situation no woman wants to be in. So this whole scenario is something that takes time. It's not something that you get overnight. It's often something that happens to us over a series of decades. So we build up this insulin resistance over time. The end result of insulin resistance is usually when we end up in a situation where we're diabetic, so type 2 diabetes. My situation was that progression. It was by the book, exactly how I just explained it to you. So I was insulin resistant. I noticed some changes in my body that I wasn't happy with. So I did what most women do when you start to notice that your body's accumulating fat. And I ate more frequently. I ate less calories, and I exercised as many hours of the day that I could possibly find to exercise, which really does end up making our situation even worse, and it doesn't help us reduce that insulin resistance, which will get us out of that diabetic state. So I went from insulin resistance, I made the situation worse by doing what I've been trained to do and what we all have been told to do. I ate more frequently, I ate less food, and I over-exercised, and I put myself right to a pre-diabetic state. So type 2 diabetes are when our cells are unable to respond to insulin and therefore don't allow glucose to enter. So what happens is our body isn't utilizing this insulin production the way it was designed to be utilized, and so we become resistant. Our system becomes resistant to it, and we actually have a situation where we're overproducing insulin, and we get this backup system. So visualize your garbage disposal in your sink, and you have things that are down inside your garbage disposal, and the water starts to rise up and it starts to overflow. This is exactly what happens in our system when our body is unable to process carbohydrates in a way that helps our system regulate insulin and glucose in a way that we can actually burn it off and then get to that fat burning state. So we're not working through all of this stored glucose that's in our cells, and we end up getting a backup, then we get the overflow. So we end up in a diabetic state. So type 2 diabetes is actually the end result of insulin resistance. It's where we get to that point where we're at the backup stage. So how do we manage being type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic, where usually that's where the alarms start to sound, and realize that the problem is really insulin resistance? We know now, thanks to a lot of research that is being done, that things like type 2 diabetes really cannot be managed, or it doesn't make sense to manage them with pharmaceuticals. Type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance are a nutritional problem, not a medical problem. Yeah, they can lead to medical problems, but medical solutions like more insulin in your body is not going to help you become less insulin resistant. It's going to make you more insulin resistant. Remember, the problem is the overproduction and underutilization of what insulin is supposed to do for our body. So if you treat it medically, which in most cases it's with insulin, then you're just making the problem worse. If you treat the situation nutritionally and reduce the opportunity for insulin to be produced in your body to the point where it starts to self-regulate and clear out the water backup in the sink, so to speak, or it starts to clear up the backup in your system, then we start to get to that point where we start to manage our own insulin production in a way that we are designed to manage it, and we can eventually clear out those cells and clear up the backup. So when you're insulin resistant, your body needs to release a large amount of insulin to get into your glucose cells. So it's not getting into the cells, so it just overproduces. It's sort of like when you, let's say you've been listening to earphones or headsets or whatever, and you listen to music a lot, and you start to notice that your hearing's going. So you just increase the volume of the headset so you can hear it louder and clearer. And what the end result of that is you're worsening your hearing, right? You're becoming more resistant to hearing. The same thing happens when we are in this insulin resistant type of situation. Because insulin is not getting to where it needs to go, it produces more in hopes that it will actually get to its end destination, which is into your cells in the form of glucose. So that's where the overproduction comes. That's where the insulin resistant problem starts. When we get to this place of insulin resistance, anything that's in excess of our body gets converted and stored into fat. So a lot of women, especially in the perimenopausal and menopausal stage, we've built up this insulin resistance over decades of dieting, eating 6 times a day, not allowing our insulin levels to, be depleted and balance back out. And so we start storing all of this body fat. And it seems like it happens overnight because it is sort of that switch that you start to notice as you start to age and some other things start happening in your body hormonally. Remember, insulin is a hormone, so our hormones are constantly in a position where they're trying to adjust themselves, so that we need everything to be working in a sort of a fluid type of way. So insulin being a hormone that's out of balance, and then our other hormones also are out of balance as well. Add in some hormonal changes because of perimenopause and menopause, and your whole system is out of whack. Our body starts to store fat as just a way to keep ourselves in a safe place when things aren't working correctly. So we know that there are genetic factors that play into situations like insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. But with new research, we also know that those type of situations that result in just an inability for your body to break down carbohydrates properly, or the overuse of carbohydrates leading to the overproduction of insulin, ending up in a diabetic type situation, we know now that that can also be managed with nutrition. So yes, it's always good to know that those are genetic factors that could have been passed down through generations, but we also know that we can manage that with nutrition. That yes, it is a medical problem in the sense that what we end up, the end result or byproduct of years of being diabetic, is a very dangerous situation to be in, but we have to look at what the initial cause was, and that is the misuse of nutrition and not understanding how our body chemically breaks things down and produces the end byproduct. So treating type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance should really be managed with controlling blood glucose levels. Now, I am not a doctor, so I'm not prescribing anything to anyone here. You always need to listen to your doctor. But we have to also start thinking common sense wise. And we have to start thinking about how our bodies are designed and how the basic chemistry works inside our body. Knowing that every time we put something into our mouth and consume it, it causes a chemical reaction. And that chemical reaction causes a hormonal response. So if you're having trouble with sugar, meaning blood glucose levels, or you have A1C readings that are coming back high, the best thing that you can do is start thinking about what it is you're doing within your 24-hour period and what it is that you're doing, is it allowing your body an opportunity to have a break from having to produce insulin? How do you have a break from producing insulin? You just don't put yourself in a situation where your body's going to have an insulin response. So we know one of those opportunities to have an insulin sort of response or release in your body is through the consumption of carbohydrates. And since everything pretty much has carbohydrates in it, that we're eating on a rushy type of life or a busy type of life, we are not only constantly in the situation of producing insulin, but we're in that situation where we're overproducing it. So we want to go back to the basics of nutrition, consuming low glycemic carbohydrates if you're consuming carbohydrates, making sure that you're consuming more fat just so that you stay satiated and that your body's hunger hormones get the signals that it needs to kind of shut things off. Remembering that when insulin levels are high, that we also have high levels of leptin, and that is that time when our body just doesn't get the signals of being hungry or being satiated. And so that is another part that we have to really start thinking about getting in control. Remember that just because you're not eating doesn't necessarily mean that you're not producing insulin in your body. There are so many things that we can do within our day where we're not eating, where we're going to have an insulin response. It can be from what we're putting in our coffee. It can be a drink that we're having in the morning to start our day. For some people who are very, very sensitive or maybe on the far end of being insulin resistant or maybe entering into that diabetic type of state, even taking vitamins, chewing gum, all of those things, depending on what's in your gum or your vitamins, could also cause your particular body system to have a response, which could produce more insulin. So you really have to get to that place where you're depleting yourself. And the best way to do that is to put yourself into a fasted state. And there is a big difference between fasting and not eating, especially for women and especially for busy women. We think that if we go throughout our day and we don't sit down with a formal plate and a formal silverware setting, and we have just kind of done things on the fly, that we're really not eating. And that's not the case. Remember, everything that you put into your system that has the chemical ability for your body to have an insulin response, your body just left that fasted state. And you have to do this over a series of time. Remember, insulin resistance has been happening to us over a series of decades. It's the dieting mentality. It's some of the quick fixes we've done, the crutches we used. It's the over-consuming carbohydrates, under-consuming fats, not really realizing what some of the foods on our food pyramid have really been doing to us, because we thought that that was all correctly researched and presented to us in a way that was going to make us healthier, when in fact we're finding now it was quite the reverse. So if you're finding that you're insulin resistant or you're in that diabetic state, what I would really like us to start thinking about in this community is not so much the diabetic aspect of it. That carries a stigma that you're sick. What I want to really start thinking about is what led us to that point. What is insulin resistance? What am I doing on a daily basis, and for some of us, maybe even on an hourly basis, that is causing my body to be resistant to a hormone like insulin that's supposed to be working in my favor in my body? And if you're constantly thinking along those terms on what am I doing that's causing an insulin sort of spike or response in my body, and can I switch some things up and just give myself, my body, its system, the chemistry that goes along with it, an opportunity to just have a break and no longer produce that hormone for a set period of time? This is where intermittent fasting has really helped so many of us women really get our bodies back to that place where we're no longer in that insulin resistant state, and our insulin is now working in our favor and not backed up and working against us. The difficult part about intermittent fasting are really making this paradigm shift in our mind about what food is doing to us, and why it is that especially women can benefit from something like intermittent fasting, and why aging women especially can benefit from intermittent fasting, is because it carries a stigma that society has not really grabbed a hold of yet. If you stop and think about the common sense approach of it, it makes complete sense, especially for us women, the ones that have been victims of the dieting mentality for most of our life. Insulin resistance and the habits that are created that lead us to this place we're at now probably started for most of us in our 20s, or maybe even younger than that, if you grew up in a type of environment where snacking was a habitual type of thing, or sugar wasn't really regulated, and your body just became accustomed to the addiction of what that is. And we talked at the very beginning of this about how powerful sugar is and how it has been really put in the same category as very addictive drugs. So it's not our fault. We are the victims of some of this bad information that we've been given, and some of these habits that we've been asked to follow and form for ourselves. So the problem is breaking the habits and becoming or joining into a community that is understanding of what it is that you're doing and getting that peer support. And that's what I'm hoping that you are tuning in for today. The common sense part of it, like I said, it's there. It's the daily practice that really does get difficult, because life is not, or the world is not changing as quickly as we need it to, so that we can save ourselves from future suffering with things like diabetes and insulin resistance. And we know now, even with the deeper research that's being done with sugar, and especially women with things like Alzheimer's disease and cancer and dementia, it all goes back to what we've been suffering from without even knowing it for decades. That really is the problem with what we're doing with our insulin, and not being able to control it and or deplete it out of our system so that we can start functioning the way we need to. So I believe insulin resistance is that thing that we really need to be focusing on, and really doing what it takes to get that resistance part out of our daily body chemistry, and get us back to the point where we're actually functioning the way that we need to be functioning. I also feel like when we talk about insulin resistance versus diabetes, it does seem a little light, and it doesn't feel like we have been, that we are failing at something, or that we did something wrong. Insulin resistance being the cause, the root cause of what it is we have going on, does seem like something that's very logical and very manageable. Where being labeled a diabetic, I know when I was labeled pre-diabetic, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? Where insulin resistance seems like that thing where it's like, oh, no big deal, I can just control my insulin, not a problem. And I think if we can get a hold of that type of philosophy and that sort of emotional connection to what we have going on, we can really have an opportunity to heal ourselves and get ourselves right back on track to where we want to be, not only with our health, but our physique as well. Remember, when we're insulin resistant and our body is overproducing insulin, and those cells are just so jam-packed with glucose that they can't function the way that they need to function, our body does not have the ability to burn fat as an energy source. It is just completely shut off. And we want to get our bodies back to that point where it's utilizing the fat stores that we have as a source of energy, and producing the right amount of hormones as well. So I hope this helped you. If you are wondering if you're insulin resistant, a very simple blood glucose test can kind of help you determine whether you are insulin resistant or not. Check with your doctor, or a place where you can go get your blood glucose levels to get all the information on that. Like I said, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to give you guys any of that information about normal levels and all that kind of stuff. But a blood glucose level is the first place to start. And then you also want to make sure that you're getting your A1C levels checked, and you want to make sure that you're doing all of that in a fasted state for sure. let me see. So along with intermittent fasting, I also want to mention, because we talk about this a lot here, is living a keto-like lifestyle, which basically the definition of keto-like lifestyle here in this community is high fat, moderate to low protein, and a very conscious carbohydrate diet. So you're aware of the carbohydrates you're consuming and what those carbohydrates are doing in your body chemically. And then you want to also make sure that you're understanding how to exercise properly. Exercise is that thing like nutrition where we've been a little duped and we've never really taken the time to understand what we're supposed to be doing in our exercise and how we manage our exercise and our body dynamics to make sure that we're getting the best result and the best opportunities out of our exercise session. So we have to go back to the basics and really start to think about the hows, the whats, the whens, and the whys. We're doing the things that we're doing. So we make sure that when we're utilizing our time and our resources in any of these opportunities, fasting, feasting, or fitness, that we are doing it with the end in mind. And that really should be looking and feeling our best and living our most authentic life. So I hope that clears some stuff up for you guys as far as where we're sitting today with our bodies and why it is we're storing fat and what simple changes we can make to really get ourselves back on track with where we need to be. So I know I've been starting a lot with Facebook, so I'm going to start with YouTube today, if you guys don't mind. I'll welcome everybody and read any questions or comments you guys have. Debbie, good to have you here. Danny, hello from South Carolina. Looking forward to Friday's class. Awesome. I'm looking forward to have you. Deborah from Maine. Can't wait for the October 6th IF group. Michelle, I have learned so much from you. Diane, thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Michelle. Thanks for tuning in and being a member of our community. I appreciate you. The true success with anything like this really is community, because it is so hard to break these habits that we've had for so many years. I know even my own fasting and feasting has gotten so much better just from being a person who's supporting this community from the place that I'm in. All of your feedback, all the things that you share with me for women who are going through these types of situations, and some even worse, and finding relief with what they're doing with their fasting and their feasting really does help us all as a team and a tribe. So please keep sharing your successes and some of the things that you're stuck on too. We can help find you some solutions to get you through some tough parts. And then the course that we have that's starting October 6th is really the fast track to figuring all of this out. 3 weeks, we really help you get into that place where you can start to burn off that backed up insulin situation and glucose situation that you have in your body, and get your body back to that point where your hunger hormones are balanced out, your leptin levels are working the way they're supposed to, your ghrelin levels are working the way that they're supposed to, and everything's really working in your favor and not against you. And that starts October 6th if you haven't jumped in with this yet. Norma, how do I gain back my muscle and collagen in my skin? I don't want to lose any more weight. Norma, the best thing if you have like loose skin and stuff is really just time and consistency and making sure that you're really putting your body in a position where it can regenerate. And that's just through the process of autophagy. And it just takes time. The longer we've been in this state, the more time and consistency it takes to just get us back to where we need to be. And then the reality is, I mean, when I was 30, I wished I had my 20-year-old body. When I was 40, I wish I had my 30-year-old body. I'm 50 now. I wish I had my 40-year-old body. So there's some things that we're going to lose that we'll never get back naturally. I mean, there's lots of things that you can do today to kind of speed up the process or do some things to kind of get you back. Some of it's temporary. I mean, that's a personal decision. Collagen is one of those things that we just stop producing at a certain age, and you have to take it exogenously. So lots of collagen peptides, making sure your nutrition is sound, and really allowing your body to be in that state of autophagy so that your body's burning through those damaged protein cells, it's recirculating, and it really is churning away at just whatever your body no longer needs. And it doesn't need loose, flabby skin, and you've got to get some muscle under there. That's going to be the process of just strength training, and it's time, sadly. Unfortunately, we have it. So that's why we're trying to make ourselves look and feel our best. Let's see, what else have I got here? How do I gain back my muscle and collagen? Okay, I already got that one. Adeline, hello. I think of it like taking some meds like antibiotics. Eventually they no longer work if you take them too long. Yeah. And the insulin solution for diabetes is really, really backwards. Again, if you got to do what you got to do, if you're one of those people who depends on that with your because of your doctor, and that's your doctor's prescribing, I'm not anyone to tell you not to do that, but you got to think about it chemically and think about the common sense aspect of it, and how is that working for you is a question you should always ask yourself. How is what I'm doing today working for me? Is it making me better? Is it covering up a sign or a signal my body's sending me? Or is it curing the problem and eliminating it? And if what you're doing isn't curing the problem and eliminating it, then you're just prolonging your agony. And so we always want to get to that end result of curing it and eliminating it altogether. Debbie from Fort Myers, thanks for jumping on with us. And we got a Deborah. Have you had any reaction to Vital Protein Collagen? I've been using collagen for 8 months. 2 of those months with Vital Protein, I've been getting large cystic pimples. What's up with this? I have no idea. I drink collagen peptides, the Vital Proteins, almost every day, and I love them. So maybe it's just something with you. I would stop them, try another brand, and see if you get the same thing. It could just be your body kind of just processing through something as well hormonally. So I say stop it. Huh?
Could be gluten.
Yeah, it could be gluten, could be over sugar production in your gut. I mean, there's a lot of things. The one thing I love about Vital Protein Collagen peptides is they also are great for your gut as well. So you get kind of a lot of benefits from it. But stop it, see if it goes away, start it again, see if they come back, and then that's the best way to test that out for sure. Lorraine's sitting here listening and taking it all in. Awesome. Sonia, great topic. What I was looking for. Awesome. Glad I was able to help you today. Lorraine, remind us what the A1Cs are, please. So A1Cs are, I don't really know the definition of it off the top of your head, but those are the blood tests that determine your diabetic states. Again, I don't want to say any ranges. There's a normal range, a pre-diabetic range, and then a diabetic range. So you're usually insulin resistant, or you have high blood glucose levels if you're on the higher end of your A1Cs. So you want to get both of those under control. And then you want to make sure you're doing it at a fasted state. And A1C levels usually take about 3 months of dietary changes to normal out. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time between A1C tests to make sure that your body's actually processing through and your blood cells are actually healed before you go get a new test. So A1C and blood glucose are the two that you want to get for sure. Let's see, I'm already comfortable at 24 and even 23.1. Can the class still help me? I don't know. You would have to decide that for sure. I guess if you're understanding all this chemistry stuff about it and you know what you're doing and you don't have any health things that you're trying to reverse, I say you probably don't need it. I don't know. Linda, I need help. I need to lose 20 pounds by October 23rd for my doctor's visit. My weight is not moving. If I don't lose the weight, they will not do the knee replacement surgery. Linda, I would definitely, I would say join our class. It starts October 6th, so you'll have a couple weeks under your belt. I can't promise you're going to lose any weight. I don't ever promise that to anyone. What you want to do is get your hormones under control. So you're not losing weight because your hormones are out of control. You have to get those hormones under control. I would definitely make that your priority. What is it that's keeping you from losing weight? It's not dieting. Dieting doesn't help you lose weight. It's not the exercise part of it. That doesn't help you lose weight. It's getting your hormones under control. And the first ones you want to get under control are your hunger hormones so that they will then help your insulin get under control. So I would say join our class for sure.
I got the exact A1C if you want it.
What?
Okay. Definition to A1C.
Here. Okay, so A1C test measures the amount of glucose that enters the red blood cells and links up with the protein called hemoglobin, which is proportional to the amount of glucose in the blood. The results are given in a percentage. The lower your A1C level, the better your blood sugar control has been over the past 2 to 3 months. So yeah, you want to make sure that you take your A1C tests within a 3-month time frame of each other, and that's because it takes that long for your red blood cells to process through and not be affected by the blood sugar anymore. So hopefully that made sense. Thanks, Michael, for that. Debbie, did I hear you say at some point that the caffeine can have an effect on insulin levels? That's one of those things where it just depends on how your body metabolizes caffeine. I metabolize caffeine very well, so I don't have any problem with it. But for some people, it does cause an insulin spike. You won't know that till you do it and then you not have caffeine. and kind of see how you feel, or maybe test your blood sugar levels. But for me, it doesn't affect it at all. And it does really help me. It's a tool that I use for my hunger hormones as well. So that's a personal body chemistry thing you'll have to test for yourself. Let's see if I have anything else. Really appreciate all the knowledge you share with us. So you're welcome. Hillcross Farm, Kristen, maybe this website, maybe the website where to sign up. Okay, so just look in the comments, Kristen Z, and you'll see them there. Denise, hello, girlfriend. Renee, the process truly works. I have great news to share when I can sit and quietly and type. Oh, I can't wait to hear from you, Renee. That'll be awesome to get some good info. Let's see, I think that's it. How do I join the class? There's a link, Linda, just click on that. Renee, after 6 months, I am well in my way to healing. All my numbers have improved, and my doctor was so impressed. She asked for all the info. I'm so happy. Renee, congratulations. That's the goal. We really do like to live by the philosophy of doing nothing and embracing everything here, and taking a big chunk of your day and doing nothing. Just let your body have a break and give it an opportunity to utilize its energy and its resources to break things down that are backed up and just clear out the house, so to speak. And so when we're constantly consuming things and we're constantly having an insulin response, our body's just working to manage that, and it can't get any other real productive things done. It's sort of like having a really busy day and not being productive. Like, oh gosh, I was busy all day, I didn't get anything done. Well, our body goes through the same sort of process. It's busy all day because you're constantly putting stuff in it, but it doesn't actually get an opportunity to do any work and be productive. So doing nothing for a great period of a great amount of hours of your day can really allow your body to be really productive and get some really good work done on the benefit of you living a healthier and happier life. Okay, so let me see who's we got here on Facebook. Thanks so much for your comments, YouTube. I appreciate it. Valerie, hello. Christy, hello. Cindy, hello. Amy's here. Good to have you. Beatrice, Janet from Nevada. Eileen, excited to catch you live. Always good to have you here as well. Jane is here. Bev, love all the practical information you give us. It is so helpful. I'm 69 and a July graduate and love this way of eating. Thank you for all you do. Bev, you're welcome. Thanks for being here with us. Alana, hello. Sybil's here. Cassia is here. Ingrid, good to have you, girlfriend. Carol, Diane, while we are talking insulin today, do you have any thoughts or past videos on thyroid issues? I was recently diagnosed with Hashimoto's and wonder if IF and keto like eating are good options for dealing with that. I say yes, because a lot of times what happens with Hashimoto's, it's that inflammatory type of situation that our body's in, and it starts to break down. And we start to have all kinds of autoimmune situations happening in our body. So I would say yes, for sure, because again, it's going to allow your body to have several hours within the day where it's going to be concentrating on nothing but healing you on the inside. So intermittent fasting and a keto-like lifestyle, in my opinion, is the be-all, cure-all for everything. Because you're just taking time in your day where you're just not eating. It's not anything that's scary or anything that should make anyone feel fearful. You're just not eating. And if we thought about putting crappy food or just food in general in our body throughout the day, and we thought about what that was doing to our body systems, we should really be questioning that and not just not eating. You want to make sure you're drinking your water. You want to make sure you're getting your minerals. All that stuff is just what we need to do. But the not eating part should be really fascinating to us, and we should really be thinking about it as a way that we have to just give our body the opportunity to work. So Carol, I would think that it would be the best thing for you to just give your body a break and see if it can kind of balance itself back out. Lisa, hello. Tammy, happy to catch you live. I'm actually in the parking lot to see my doctor and plan on discussing IF with him. I'm feeling so much less inflammation with IF, and it has only been a week. It's awesome. Tammy, congratulations. And hopefully your doctor will notice. Diane, happy to see you. Mode, I think it is, those people who are using insulin injection. Yeah, insulin injections just make your insulin situation worse, for sure. Alana, I would prefer getting to the root of the why versus throwing meds over as symptoms. Congratulations, Alana, me too. Let's see what else. Frilly from the UK. Thanks for jumping on. Amy, this community and listening to your videos, Diane, has kept me going strong since April 2017. Yeah, Amy, you're doing great, girlfriend. Valerie, how do I curb binging during my window? I'm fine while I fast. And then, Valerie, usually it's because you're not eating enough fat, or maybe your hunger hormones haven't balanced out yet. So the best thing to do is control your environment and only put food readily available to eat that you want to eat in your feasting window. So binging has a lot of different meanings to different people too. So what binging is to you could be something completely different for me. So it's hard to really give you some hard advice on that because I don't really know what binging is for you. Binging could be totally appropriate. It might be what your body needs. It all just depends on what you're consuming during your feasting time. So I really like to use words like overconsumption or ate for an entire 4 hours. Binging is that word that sends a signal to us that we're really doing something wrong. It has such a negative connotation. So I would really need to hear what binging was for you and what you're actually doing in your feasting window. Kimberly, hello. Kristen, it's a 3-month average of glucose. Yes, for sure. Kristen, A1C, yep. So yeah, you have to wait that 3-month period and then get retested. That's the way to get the best result to show that your efforts are actually paying off. Tina just got on. Good to have you. Melinda, hello from Oklahoma, May 2017 course. It still works. Have helped friends and family. Good for you, Melinda, for paying it forward too. Close to 60 pounds lost since May. Awesome. So the reason Melinda lost 60 pounds is not because she intermittent fasted or lived a keto-like lifestyle. It's because intermittent fasting and a keto-like lifestyle helped her body's hormones balance out so she could lose 60 pounds. So you have to make sure that you're intermittent fasting and you're consuming food in your feasting window correctly so that your body's hormones will balance out. So there is some finesse to it. There's a little bit of tweaking you have to do, and there's some understanding of how your personal body chemistry works so that you make sure that you're doing the right things to really yield the results that you're looking for. One of the big reasons why I'm very careful about things like the word like binging and giving advice about what caffeine does and what it doesn't do is because every single person's body chemistry is so unique to that you as a person and your food history and your medical history and your emotional status. All of what we do with our body is very personal. We should never ever follow a cookie cutter type approach to anything that we're doing nutritionally or really medically either, because our body system will respond in such a different way. So we really have to start experimenting with things, keeping good notes about things, and then slowing down our life enough so that we're mindful with the body chemistry that we have going on and those signs and signals, and making sure that we're listening to them so we know how to respond to them correctly. Words matter, activities matter, emotional statuses matter. All of that stuff causes hormonal reactions as well. So we have to really get ourselves into that place where we are receiving what it is our body's trying to tell us, and then we can find a good solution to what we're trying to do. Deanna, March class, so thankful. Oh, Deanna, it's good to have you with us today. Thanks for jumping on. Okay, so I think I got everyone. Let's see. Cassia, I signed up for the Declutter Mindset class today. Yay. Hopefully you did your assignments today. Make sure you're using your tracker and make sure you're checking in with, and you did your assignment from the book today as well. So those of you who are interested in joining one of our classes, if you're new and you don't know what we're talking about with classes, October 6th, we have our basic or a beginner intermittent fasting for today's aging woman course starting. If you're not really sure about body chemistry, you're not sure about your hunger hormones, you're not sure what you're supposed to do about the way you've been eating for the past 20 or 30 years, intermittent fasting for today's aging woman is the course you want to jump in. It's an amazing community of women who get together and really help each other figure all this out and get ourselves into that point where we can start depleting some of this backed up insulin production byproduct we have in our body that's really causing us to be inflamed, not manage our blood glucose correctly, and could eventually get us into that state of Alzheimer's and dementia as well. So we want to make sure we get that under control. And then today we also started our October Declutter and Mindset group. So I do believe that success with nutrition, success with our health, success with anything that we want to have in our lifestyle in general really does involve many areas of our life. And it's the way we think and we act and we respond throughout our day. So we are working on a declutter and a mindset group as well in the month of October to kind of take us to that next level, so that we make sure that what we're doing with our intermittent fasting and our keto-like lifestyle will stand the test of time and can really be the lifestyle that we can manage for the remainder of our lives. So thanks for jumping on. If you're interested in any one of our courses, always feel free to leave a comment. We'll get you the information, or you can always private message me or send me an email as well. I hope today's discussion helped you understand insulin resistance a little bit better. I want you guys to really focus on what insulin resistance is. What happens to your body when you put something in it? Try to imagine the chemical reactions that are happening in your body so you can understand where it is you're going if you're not looking and feeling your best. And then the ultimate goal is always to live our most authentic life. I'll see you guys Wednesday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we will be talking about another subject involving intermittent fasting and the keto-like lifestyle. Have a great afternoon.